by Perry. And then I put a question on, for us to kind of touch on here. We said it in the pregame, but where is this Ducks secondary scoring? I mean, since we talk about it every other game, but there's just nothing. There's nothing from the Kess line. We had a little bit when Silverberg had a couple of goals, but Henrique had, like we said, he had a couple of goals in the past 9 games, but nothing from Ritchie. And then the Kasha one is just the one that's puzzling to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's disappeared. It's not even like it's slowly kind of just dwindled away. It's just gone. It's nowhere to be found. I mean, the second line has kind of been like that all season, but we had mentioned, like you said before, earlier on in the show today, that Henry, Kasha, and Ritchie line was buzzing for so long, and they were actually the only line for a while that was getting going, where it said, just wait until the Getzlaf, Perry, and Rakell line gets going. We have these two guys firing at the same time. The Ducks are going to be not unbeatable, but a very hard team to match up against. And of course, when one line gets going, the other line completely disappears. And I mean, it's a worry for sure, because it's hard to say if this is a line that's going to get back to where they were, get close to where they were, because it's easy to say Getzlaf, Perry, and Rakell are going to pick things up just because of the talent that's on the ice, but you don't really know with Henry, Cash, and Ritchie. They're great players and they can create offense, but guys kind of know what they've got now. I think they surprised a lot of people when they were put together and they started playing very well, and they're getting some favorable matchups because teams are throwing their third lines out or fourth lines out against them, and they weren't having to face some top opposition. And I think now teams are kind of catching on, and they're moving away matchups from that Kessler, Silfverberg, Cogliano line, because it's not been great all year, and they're kind of pushing those matchups onto Henry, Kasha, and Ritchie, and they're not getting as good chances as they were before. Yeah,
I know that's going to actually just take us into some post-game notes later tonight about what can the Ducks do to retool this, in the meantime and get ready for the playoffs. But unfortunately, we have to run through the third period here, and the Ducks again. I wrote a dud of an opening 5 minutes. It was just they just can't keep it going, and then the pressure that they get, the zone pressure by the RPG line, they're not getting enough chances on net. It felt like they would miss a lot. And then they were having issues with getting the puck out of the zone. But then, of all people in all lines, the Ducks would get their depth scoring we were talking about, but not from any of the guys that you would expect it. Kelly off the rush through a screen of Grant, and I want to say Sobotka in front of the net. Grant gets the tip through the screen, and all of a sudden, the Ducks cut the lead to 1. It's 3-2 Blues.
But you kind of felt like, not that it was undeserved, but there was really no momentum leading up to the goal, and it was just one of those chances where you just throw a puck to net, takes a deflection, and it goes in. And there wasn't anything to warrant any play before that. Any play that was kind of leading up to this goal, where you kind of felt like a goal was coming, kind of came out of nowhere, and then you're expecting maybe some motivation to come from a goal that puts you within 1 when you still got plenty of time left, and we still didn't see it. I mean, the Blues came right back with their pressure, and as you've said already, just buzzing throughout the entire game. They didn't look tired. They kept up the pressure right after this goal, and the Ducks got almost no momentum from it.
No, it's true. It was nothing, because right after that goal, the Blues come right back, and Giddy was forced to make a hell of a save on Shen. He tries to go high glove, and it was like he caught him shoulder glove area, and he was like, do I have it? But Gibby was able to keep it. Ritchie threw one through the crease. There was nobody there to tip, and I even put there, he's been quiet. It's just the story of that line. And then maybe I thought something would be picked up here because Montour went to make a heavy hit on Sobotka. And how many times have I said his name tonight, Sobotka? I mean, that guy's just been all over the ice. Montour makes a hit. I think he kind of missed the hit. He had both go flying, but, nothing ends up coming to that. And the Ducks finally looked like they were getting, area chances, but it just didn't seem dangerous. It seemed a lot like the game against the Stars. It's not dangerous. Even when they had chances, just wasn't anything going on. And then I noticed there for a minute, I don't know if there was a line change, and I'm like, why is Bjexen Boschman out with Perry Getzlaf?
I saw a lot of people wondering the same thing. Don't worry.
I was like, what are they doing out there? It didn't make any sense. And I just checked their time on ice 5-on-5. It was like only a couple minutes. So every once in a while, I guess, you get stuck in a change. But the Ducks would have all their hopes and dreams dashed away in this first game of a homestand as Berglund, off a turnover of the pairing of Bjexen and Fowler, he walks to the top of the slot uncontested, wires it on the glove side of Gibby, makes it 4-2 Blues, and that was the heartbreaker, the knife in the back. I don't know what else to say about it other than it was just disappointing. I don't know if I can fault BXO on that pass around the boards because it was like probably a safe play for him because he's not really good at walking the puck over the blue line.
Yeah.
Fowler missed the pass, and that was just all she wrote.
Yeah, I it's hard not to fault Bieksa just because he's an easy, go-to. He's an scapegoat on those types of plays. But
on that play, it's like...
Yeah, on that play, it's Fowler. I mean, that's a pass he should have. It wasn't a hard pass around the boards. He's got to intercept that and make either another pass or trying to get a quick out, and he misses it. And it's an easy pass right there to Berglund, who, I mean, he's uncontested in the slot, which, again, that's a missed cover by whoever is supposed to be on him. And he's got almost all the time in the world, just like Bortuzzo did on the first goal, where he's able to pick his spot. Not much Gibby could really do on that one when he's wide open in the slot. And the secondary scoring for the Blues again, making the Ducks pay. So what? Now we have Sobotka, Berglund, Barbashev, and Bortuzzo with the goals. Guys you wouldn't expect when you've got Schwartz, Shen, and Tarasenko. I believe they're on the same line, or at least obviously out there on the same team. And none of them, I don't think even any of them really had a point. I'd have to check the assist totals, but it was really the depth guys and Alex Pietrangelo getting it going for the Blues.
No, I think you're right on that. They didn't seem dangerous at all in this game other than that Tarasenko rush. You didn't really see or notice them and had a couple of good shots, but nothing that was insane where they were just buzzing the whole night. It was these depth guys getting the chances and making the most of them. And an interesting stat here, because there was nothing really good that happened the rest of this period for the Ducks, or the game for that matter. But Brian Hayward and John Allers were talking about a stat they call it shots from within the house, which is what we call, looking at analytics, they call the home plate, all the high danger chances. 18 of 22 shots at about the 7 minutes to go mark in the third for the Blues that's where their chances were coming from. That is not good.
No.
That's a real bad spot to be leaving guys uncontested.
Yeah, and it feels like it's a trend. Obviously, I'd have to dig into it deeper, but it feels like we saw a lot of that against Nashville and some of it against Dallas for sure. And it's kind of like teams were just waiting, holding back and picking their spots against the Ducks and then just applying severe pressure and forcing the Ducks to turn over the puck. And it's kind of worrying that it's 3 games in a row that we've seen teams playing the same way against Anaheim, kind of like they've figured out how to beat the system. Not like it's hard, especially with the way Randy Carlyle has been setting up this team the last few games. But it's worrying because now we're getting into the stretch now. I think Gordon Bombay puts in the chat here that the Kings won 3-0 tonight. Last time I checked, San Jose was leading, I think, 3-1 or 3-2 against Detroit. And the Ducks got lucky where San Jose and LA actually lost, and Calgary, they all lost when the Ducks had some time off there between Dallas and this game. And now they waste some valuable points here and pretty much blow that effort with the Kings and Sharks both picking up points.
Yeah, San Jose won 5-3. Kings won 3-0. San Jose won 5-3. So not good news there. When you're out of town or when your rivals end up scoring enough to beat those teams that you're competing in playoff positions for, that's just not something Anaheim really needs to have be a consistent thing, or like everyone being excited for the playoffs. They could easily be dashed away here. I mean, they're playing with fire right now by going 0-3 in their last 3 games. The only other kind of thing I thought was odd is I saw Bieksa out there when Gibby was pulled. It's kind of a head scratcher. I was like, why is he shooting the puck from the point? Why is he passing why is Bieksa on the ice?
Yeah.
How is anybody? Is there no one else available?
When you've got guys like Montour, Fowler, Lindholm, and Manson that should be out there in the final 2 minutes of the game with the goalie pulled, and you've got to make up a 2-goal deficit, it makes no sense whatsoever to see BX out there. And I believe he made a couple bad plays anyway. Didn't keep the puck in on one chance, didn't get a quick out on another. And yeah, I mean, I can't explain it. I'd love to hear Randy Carlyle explain how Bieksa was out there for the final extra minutes. I'm sure it has to do something with grit or veteran experience or something along those lines. But yeah, it really makes no sense when you've got mobile defensemen in Montour, Lindholm, and Fowler who can actually contribute on offense, and you don't have them out there. It's a head scratcher.
Well, let's cap this loss and shoot it off into the sun to never be spoken of again, because let's just call a mulligan. Let's have the home stretch start here on Wednesday against Vancouver. That's the game that we'll talk about here in a bit. But the Ducks, come up short on the Blues 4-2. Don't make the best of their chances. Get out, just get smothered, get outplayed again. Just an unfortunate night. Let's get on to the post-game show, and let's talk about a little bit of Marcus Pettersson. Our good friend Jimmy tweeted hashtag free Marcus Pettersson. He was at the game. He upgraded his seats to sit in the lower bowl, and he said so he could watch Boschman and BX up close tonight. And I don't want to so much trash Bosch and BX. They get enough of that at their the later stage of their careers here. We're here to talk about Pettersson, and you're pretty big on Ducks prospects. What have you seen from Pettersson, and what could possibly be that reason? Is there anything beyond the veteran or grit that we always talk about with this Bob Murray team as to why he'd be scratched?
It's interesting because I don't think he's played great, but I don't think he's played his way off the team. I think he's done enough that he should be at least be in a spot over Boschman BX, especially how we saw how much it benefited this team when one of those guys was out of the lineup and they were kind of alternating in and out and getting a little bit more rest. I think it was valuable to have that asset for the team. And it's even weirder the fact that we saw that Pettersson was skating on the second power play unit at practice, and it kind of seemed like he was getting some more responsibilities and they weren't going to scratch him, and then all of a sudden they favor Boschman and BX as a pairing instead of putting Pettersson in there. So yeah, I mean it's interesting. That's why I put the hashtag free Marcus Pettersson as part of our title for this podcast, because it's a weird one. There was a question in the chat that we'll get to later, but talking about Jakob Larsson and how the Ducks have these young defensemen in their system, but they still seem to want to play Boschman BX together, especially when the experiment with Marcus Pettersson actually seemed to be going pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to look at just plain old analytic numbers right off the bat, I mean, his Corsi for percentage is around 43%, so his possession numbers are down, but you got to think of the minutes he's playing there. He's playing at the lion's share of his minutes with guys, after he had his stint with Manson, he started playing with, didn't he play a lot with Bieksa?
Yeah, it's Bieksa and Boschman pretty much every night that he was out there without Manson.
So, I mean, when you have that happen, you saw what that did to Lindholm's numbers, you saw what that did to Fowler's numbers. It happens to all the guys.
Yeah.
But like you said, I mean, why not have a younger, more mobile guy? And why not test him in situations like this where they are physical? I mean, he's eventually, if you want him on the team, he's going to have to play these games.
Yeah.
It was just why it was curious to me is why they would scratch him here. And I bet you anything he's in next game. He's going to be in against Vancouver. That's not a team that's going to be challenging for anything other than to, play spoiler for the Ducks and try to keep them out of the playoffs by beating them. It's a head scratcher for Randy Carlyle again. I don't understand the purpose of this.
Yeah, and listen, we're not saying they would have won the game with Marcus Pettersson in the lineup. There's still a lot of other issues that they have to get solved here, but
of course,
it makes a huge difference when you don't have to throw that Boschman and BX pairing out there. And I feel like we saw them a lot more than we should in some situations where they shouldn't be out there. I mean, we had mentioned previously they were out there for a bit with the RPG line, which wasn't long, but they were still out there. And it just helps the Ducks defense kind of get things going when they can have at least one reliable guy in that bottom pairing. Lindholm and Manson can do their thing. Fowler and Montour, who did have another strong game, can continue their play, and you don't really have to worry about those two guys being out there at the same time. And again, I already mentioned this, but the weird thing to me is that he was skating on the second power play unit in practice, so it felt like he was getting more opportunities and they were going to be ready to put him in this game coming up. But like you said, we probably see him in the next game, and they're just going to act like nothing happened. But and the Ducks could very well win that game, and then Marcus Pettersson will be scratched for the one after that because nobody knows what's going on in Randy Carlyle's mind.
Yeah, no, I agree. Kevin Bieksa played 13 minutes and 30 seconds with Francois Beauchemin tonight in all situations. So there you go. That's how many minutes they've played. Not a ton, I guess. I mean, it's like they're playing 18 minutes a game. But, I mean, they were out there in some curious situations, and I believe Bieksa was on the ice for 3 of the Ducks' goals against out of the 4, right?
Yeah, which isn't a shocker, really.
No, it's not. But so speaking of Pettersson and prospects, let's move on to talk about them a little more. We've had some questions in the recent past, all of our 6 episodes now, but people have asked about players coming up in the system, and there's been talk of Troy Terry all over the place, with Steele and Max Jones and Comtois, and we've talked about how good those players could be and what they're projected to be like. But realistically, we've been saying for a week or two now that this top 9 is pretty much set in stone. You don't see a lot of movement, but when you're losing games like this down the